right, you guys, welcome to another episode of Odds On Favorites. If you're new here, head on back and watch some of our older videos. For those of you that have been fans watching the show for a while, you know the drill. So we're just going to jump right in here with our What's Happening segment. Rick, I'm looking to you first, man. I want to talk about what the heck happened after UFC 229.
Listen, that was easily the most chaotic thing I've seen since Ron Artest and the Malice in the Palace. Khabib Nurmagomedov had an impressive performance against Conor McGregor. He came out there. He didn't show any fear in the stand-up game. He took a couple shots. He landed a few big shots. And then whenever he wanted, he took McGregor down. A lot of people don't like the way he fights because, as some people like to call it, it's kind of like a dirty fighting where he just grinds it out until he can get the leverage and then start pounding on you. Well, eventually what ended up happening was he did that for 3+ rounds, and then in the fourth round he was able to get a submission hold on Conor, make him tap out. He thoroughly dominated that fight. And afterwards, instead of being a professional, standing up, getting the belt put around his waist, everybody praising him, he decides to throw his mouthpiece first at McGregor's corner. And then that wasn't enough. He jumps over the cage, out after one of McGregor's teammates, and starts a huge brawl inside of the crowd. It was insane. I couldn't even believe what I was watching at first. For a fighter who's normally more collected and reserved and in control of his emotions, let alone how he fights inside the cage, for him to do that, it shocked everybody. What's just as shocking is what's going to happen next. He's threatening to quit the UFC now if his teammate gets fired. That's the same teammate, get this, who jumped into the cage and went after McGregor. Two of Khabib's teammates or cornermen went into the cage and tried to attack McGregor after he was already beat up by Khabib. Then you have just craziness going on in the crowd. The Nevada State Athletic Commission is opening an investigation. They've suspended both McGregor and Khabib for 10 days as they're going through this. They've withheld Khabib's $2 million fight purse. We don't know what's going to happen next. He could be suspended for months, or he could fight again in a couple months. What we do know is what he did after the fight really marred an impressive performance inside the cage. Dana White got what he wanted in terms of having a memorable moment, a historic moment, but this was not exactly how they imagined it.
Right.
Because this is going to leave a black mark on the sport for a long time,
right,
just like Malice in the Palace did with the NBA. However, the difference is this. The NBA doesn't allow an environment to become combustible like that. MMA does. UFC does. They've allowed Conor McGregor to say whatever he wants, to verbally attack anybody. He attacked the bus 6 months ago or so, and they use that as a marketing tool for this event. Like, they should not be surprised that this happened, and if they don't do something about it now, it's just going to continue to happen.
Right.
If there's no ramifications for this, who's to stop it from happening again?
Right.
Grudge match. It was crazy. All I can say is crazy.
Couple thoughts and speculations on some things for you. I'd love your input. And Taylor, feel free to chime in at any point. I was reading some things and just seeing some things on the internet, which, as you know, is a highly credible resource always. Do you think a lot of this was maybe just like a possible segue? I know you were talking about possible suspensions and things like that, but I don't feel like Conor McGregor is going to get suspended in any sense anytime soon, especially for like what happened. But a lot of people were saying this was all an act, like a segue to ensure a rematch fight in the future at some point between McGregor and Khabib.
They didn't even need this to happen to have a rematch. No matter what, there was going to be a rematch because both guys have flat out declared that they basically hate each other and that their rivalry was not going to end at UFC 229. McGregor immediately requested a rematch that night within hours after the event. However, what this is going to do is this is going to drive up pay-per-views. Their rematch could end up being the highest grossing, most pay-per-views of all time for UFC.
Did the UFC 229, did that break records like it was projected
to? It broke records. They believe it easily went over 2 million. They're still waiting for numbers. They don't think it's going to hit the 3 million mark that they were hoping for with the in the week leading up to the event. But they do believe that it easily eclipsed 2 million. So it will go down with the most pay-per-view buys. It'll go down as like hopefully a turning point in the sport. We'll see how that goes from this point forward. But a rematch is going to be insane. The only question is, where do they go next? If Khabib is suspended for X amount of time,
right?
McGregor wait for the rematch. Does somebody else fight Khabib or McGregor? Tony Ferguson in the semi-main event won his match and is now the number one contender for the lightweight title. And Dana White's already brought him up saying he easily could fight either man, and it would be a main event for whatever UFC pay-per-view. So the chaos is not over, and until the Nevada State Athletic Commission decides what they're going to do, UFC's kind of on hold in terms of what they're going to do with McGregor and Khabib.
Sure.
But I did see, to take it back to the betting angle, I did see odds released for a potential rematch, and Khabib's a huge favorite.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like anywhere up to like 320, minus 320 for Khabib and plus 240 for McGregor. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I actually thought it would be higher than that because he thoroughly dominated McGregor in that fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. Did McGregor, like, if it had gone to decision, did McGregor even win a round of those 3-4 rounds that it went?
No, McGregor didn't win one round. McGregor barely even got more shots in. McGregor did not look like himself. He looked like he was kind of out of his element at some points. I don't really know what he was doing, what his fight plan was, because when he got on the ground, at first he had some success, but then in round 2, round 3, and then into round 4, it was like he was making rookie mistakes. And Khabib just got on his back and choked him out. And it was just like, you successfully defended this in round 1, and now by round 4, it's like you completely forget how to do that. Some people say he was tired, he's fatigued. We'll see. He did not look good at all. Khabib looked fantastic. He looks like a machine. He literally looks like a machine in that ring.
Taylor, anything to add from UFC 229?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. Well, how about I'll look to you for this next topic then. Rick, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But
I'll tell you one more thing. Probably the best thing to come out of UFC 229 was Derek Lewis's post-fight promo where he's in his underwear and he's talking about Trump and everything else in America and whatever else he was saying. That was easily probably the funniest, most entertaining moment of the night.
That was great.
He's already rewarded for his victory. He's turned around and fighting in 3.5 weeks, Daniel Cormier, for the UFC heavyweight title.
It's awesome.
It's unbelievable. Only in America, as Don King always says.
I will say the Malice in the Palace is like my favorite sports moment of all time. I don't know if Cody knows what we're talking about.
I don't, honestly. I don't.
Oh. Cody, you got some homework to do.
I know.
You gotta go on YouTube and search Ron Artest Malice at the Palace.
Yeah, don't type Meta World Peace.
I know I've heard of it before, but I obviously wasn't around or wasn't a fan during the time, so heard of it, but don't actually know what it is.
2004.
2004. Gotcha. Yeah, too young for that. Was not a sports fan at that time.
Wow.
All right. How about this, Taylor? I'm going to look to you for this one, man. Let's talk about the Eagles. Jay Ajayi is out for the year, I believe, right? He's done.
Yep.
So the Eagles need to figure out what they're going to do for their running back situation. Currently, they are the odds-on favorite to trade for Le'Veon Bell. I think at plus 150. I don't have any other stats. I just know that the Eagles are there. But there's also rumors about them trading for LaShawn McCoy from the Bills and going back to his former team over at the Eagles. So talk to me a little little bit about that. Share your thoughts with us, and anything else that you have to add.
So the Eagles, I remember writing at the beginning of the season how a bunch of other teams had better Super Bowl odds than they did. People weren't really buying in on them to repeat. And it looks justified. I think they're 2-3 right now. They play tonight or, Thursday night. We're recording this on Thursday. I do think there's merit to the notion that they could trade for Le'Veon, but it sounds, based on what they're saying, they're not going to do it. They restructured the deal of Fletcher Cox, which is something they would have had to do if they were going to trade for Bell and his salary, but apparently that was planned anyway, according to them. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'm pretty sure they will have to make a trade at some point, though, because Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood are the only healthy backs left on the roster, I believe. And there's also a kid named Josh Adams who's never played in the NFL. He's a rookie. LeGarrette Blount is another name I've seen out there. He was there last year. He's now in Detroit. He's more of a goal line, short yardage kind of guy. But if the Lions kind of fall out of it, or if they just decide to give more carries to Kerryon Johnson, I could see that being a route the Eagles could take. But I don't know. I wasn't a big Eagles buyer to begin with this season with the Wentz injury and Foles probably coming back to earth and everything like that. This obviously makes the road tougher. The thing I will say about the Eagles' Super Bowl odds is that their division is so bad that I cannot imagine any of the other teams winning. So I still feel like even with Ajayi being hurt, I can't imagine the Cowboys, Redskins, or Giants making the playoffs, So
Right.
They at least have an outside chance just because their division sucks.
Do you think with Le'Veon Bell, they become legit Super Bowl contenders if Le'Veon Bell comes to play?
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, a lot of teams, the NFC is just tough. If they were in the AFC, they'd have a way easier road. I still think they have to get through the Rams. That's the best team in the NFL. It would obviously help their chances. It would separate them from the pack in their division, but I don't think one player is enough to put them over LA.
I was looking at the LaShawn McCoy rumors. I don't know if you've heard about them, maybe possibly trying to acquire LaShawn McCoy, but I think there was talks of trading a couple draft. Actually, Rick, I think you were telling me about it, trading draft picks for McCoy to get a player like Le'Veon. Do you think Do you think they'll trade Ajayi in any situation here?
I don't think anybody would trade for Ajayi with a torn ACL right now.
Right.
The thing with the Eagles is if they have to look towards the future also with this year. This year they're still good enough to win, as Taylor was saying, the NFC East, because the rest of the teams by default are terrible. Okay, the Giants might be able to turn the season around somehow, some way. They have the talent on offense to at least outscore other teams, but they're so dysfunctional right now, it's hard to believe they'll do anything. Dallas is a terrible team. They have a good running game and a decent defense, but that's it. And Washington, other than AP and Alex Smith, can anybody name 3 other players on that team? With that said, the Eagles should still, even without Ajayi, should still be able to win the division. However, if they can make a trade for McCoy or for Bell, I think that puts them right back in the running to win the NFC, to be honest, because that opens up the game. You also got to give Wentz a few more weeks to get back into a groove. He's coming back from his knee injury. He had a torn ACL also. He's starting to slowly get back into the swing of things. Give him a few more weeks. I would say by the halfway point, the Eagles are going to be looking even better. As in regards to the trades, in my opinion, the rumor was the Buffalo's asking for a second and third round pick for LaShawn McCoy. Obviously, on the flip side, people are saying the Eagles probably wouldn't give up more than a fourth round pick for McCoy. The reason McCoy makes so much sense is he costs a lot less moving forward than Le'Veon Bell does. Because you don't have to just look at Bell for this year. That's the problem. You also have to look for him for the future. Bell wants to be paid as one of the highest paid running backs, $15 million plus a year. On top of that, after next year, they got to pay Carson Wentz franchise quarterback money. Okay? You can't afford in this day and age 2 max players pretty much on an NFL team, especially if it's the quarterback and running back, because then you're neglecting the defense. That's what happened with the Raiders. They said they couldn't afford to keep Mack when they had Derek Carr and so many other holes and stuff to fill. Eagles can't. The Eagles, if they trade for Bell this year, are only going to have him for the rest of the year because he wants to get paid.
Yeah.
Eagles aren't going to have the money to pay him going ahead in the future. They just won't have them. Ideally, the best team to trade for Bell would be the Colts, but that's a different story. Right now, I don't think the Eagles will trade for Bell. I think there's a better chance they go for McCoy, a former Eagles player who the fans still love, which is hard to say for Philly fans. But McCoy never wanted to leave Philly in the first place. They got rid of him in that whole Chip Kelly ridiculous era. Anyhow, I don't see them trading for a Bell. I think they have a better shot at McCoy.
Gotcha. I was just curious. So I was looking up the odds in case anybody's curious. As of right now, the Eagles have obviously the best odds to win the NFC East at plus 110, and then their odds to win the Super Bowl is plus 2,500.
It's good value.
Yeah.
It's good value plus 2,500.
Yeah.
That's pretty high for a defending Super Bowl champ. And not only that, though, the 110 mark to win the NFC East.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should take that all day.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was thinking that I didn't want to take anybody's easy money pick if you got that. But
I saw that would have been my easy money. Wow.
You got the Eagles at plus 110, the Cowboys plus 250, Redskins plus 300. You got the Giants all the way down at plus 1,000.
Whoa. And what? Oh, wow. Okay. And they're only, a game back?
Yeah.
Okay. I think people drink the Dallas Cowboys Kool-Aid a little too much.
Well, they're not good at all. I don't know what people have seen out of them to make them think they're even the second best team in that division.
I don't understand it. They're not America's team.
Well, their defense just isn't that great. The only player that I know that's worth anything is Ezekiel Elliott. Sorry, and he's not even that great.
Dak Prescott's
shown me nothing.
Dak Prescott's the problem there, I think.
Yeah.
And the play calling's bad. They got to get rid of that coach. He's been there for 9 years, and they've done nothing.
If they end up with a losing record, Garrett's gone.
He should be gone. He should have been gone 5 years ago.
Yeah. Hey, T.O. agrees with you.
Oh, boy.
Guys, unless you have anything else that you want to touch on, that was all I had for us. So if we're good, we're just going to jump right into our next segment here. Let's get to it. All right, you guys, it is that time for the spread and butter portion of our show. We're just going to run right through here a couple NFL games, some college ball. Let's see. Taylor, I'm going to look to you first. I'm just going to pick a game here. Cardinals at the Vikings. We have a 10.5-point spread. Vikings are the favorite here. Which pick, man?
I know the Vikings made us look like idiots when they got crushed by the Bills at home a few weeks ago as huge favorites. This is kind of the same thing. The Cardinals are a bad team, just like the Bills. Going on the road to Minnesota. Minnesota looked good last week. They finally got another win going into Philly. Pretty impressive there. 10-point spread.
10.5.
10.5. That's big, but I don't trust Arizona. I'm not totally sold on Rosen yet. Minnesota has to start winning these games because they're kind of, they kind of got into a little hole there at the beginning. So I'll take Minnesota.
Well, they're not going to go in as cocky as they did against the Bills, though. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, if they do, then I don't know. They'll be in deep doo-doo.
Rick, what do you think, man?
The Vikings are going to crush the Cardinals by at least 2 touchdowns. The Cardinals are terrible. The only reason they won against the Niners is because the Niners have nobody with their injuries. And when Breida got hurt in that game and he went out, they turned the ball over. It was just an ugly performance by the Niners. The Cardinals were lucky to get that win, and I think they'll be lucky to get another win, but they're not good. And for Rosen to go on the road at Minnesota against a team that's starting to, bounce back a little bit. They went in, they did what they had to do against Philly. They were already 1 score down against the Rams when they lost that game. They're going to win this one, and they're going to win by 2 touchdowns or more.
Very good, very good. We got a London game coming up. We got the Seahawks and the Raiders heading out to London. The Raiders are coming in at, it's a 2.5-point spread, and the Raiders are coming in as the dogs. What do you guys think?
Seattle bounced back last week and looked good against the Rams. They put up 30-plus points on the Rams. If they can do that against the Rams, they can easily do that against the Raiders. The only question you have to ask is how will the travel affect both teams? They're West Coast teams going all the way to London. So we'll see how that can affect them on the field. But Seattle appears to have more talent. At the very least, Russell Wilson's playing consistently better than Derek Carr. I'm going with the Seahawks to win by at least a field goal.
Yeah, the London thing kind of makes it tricky, but I feel pretty confident in Seattle. They've looked good for several weeks. The offense has kind of found something running the ball lately. The Raiders just looked bad last week against the Chargers. They had nothing, got completely steamrolled in a game. A Charger home game was basically a Raider home game, and the Raiders still had nothing. So I think Seattle, I think this one might be pretty lopsided. I think Seattle easily covers that.
A little bit bigger of a spread, but not as big as the Vikings-Cardinals game. How about a 7-point spread between the Rams and the Broncos? The Rams are heading to Denver, going in as the favorites. What do you guys think?
This one's tricky too because you got to deal with the altitude in Denver. They have an inherent home field advantage because of that. And a 7-point spread's big for a road team in any game, especially a game at Denver. The Broncos have looked bad, though. They got beat by the Jets last week. They just looked completely horrible. Case Keenum hasn't looked good at all. I've mentioned several times how I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL. I'm not feeling great about it because, Seattle gave them a scare last week. This is a similar tough environment for them. But I'm leaning toward taking the Rams to cover. I just think that talent will win out, and Denver just doesn't look good. So I'll go with LA.
I'm going to take it one step further. Denver looks terrible. Keenum has been a bust. He is overpaid. The only quarterback that's been more of a bust this year than Keenum is Sam Bradford. And both of them got big free agent contracts this year. Keenum has more picks than he does touchdown passes. Denver went in and got blown out by the Jets. The Jets of all teams. Denver has looked horrible. They are playing terrible. They don't have a great running game. Their defense is still trying to find themselves with some of their rookies or younger players in there. The Rams, the only way this game stays close is if Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks don't play, since they both are in concussion protocol. It looks like at least Cooks will play. Even with that said, the Rams were still throwing it to anybody off the street and going down the field and scoring on Seattle. If they can do that at Seattle, they can do it at Denver. Rams win by double digits.
All right. We got the undefeated Chiefs going to New England as the underdogs at a 3.5-point spread. What do we think?
This surprised me when I saw this spread initially. The undefeated Chiefs, the best team in the AFC, and arguably in some people's minds the best team in the NFL because of that offense.
Some wrong people.
They are heading in over to New England, which they embarrassed the Patriots, if you remember, last year in the opening game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Embarrassed them. And the Chiefs have an even better offense this year than they did last year. Here's the thing, though. Oh, this is tough. I think the Patriots are going to eke out this game and win and give the Chiefs their first loss because I believe that, first of all, the Chiefs' defense is the worst in the league. They give up like 470-plus yards a game, and this is the week that's going to bite them. They're going in and playing against a Patriots team that are now starting to get into a groove. Edelman's back. With him back, it opens up the field for Gronk. It opens up the field for now Josh Gordon and Hogan. It gives Brady another weapon to throw to in the short intermediate zone. And then they have established a running game now. They have a legit rushing attack. They've scored 38 points a game the last 2 weeks, both of them at home. The Chiefs have a horrible defense. It's going to be a shootout. However, because it's going to be a shootout, I think it's going to be close. I think the Patriots will get the ball at the end, end up scoring the winning score, but they won't cover the 3.5 points. I'm taking the Chiefs in the 3.5 points, but the Patriots to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, the Patriots have been beaten up on the Dolphins and the Colts, a couple of mediocre teams there. I'm not totally sold that they're back yet, but they are at home. It's a primetime game. They remember what the Chiefs did to them last year in this building. Kansas City, once again, flying high. They're the hot – I almost cussed there, but I don't know if we cuss on this show, but they're the hot S coming into town. And the over on this game, over-under is 60 points, which is huge. I'd be torn on taking that, but I do think New England will cover this. I think New England might win somewhat easily. This is easily Patrick Mahomes' toughest test yet. I think New England will be ready. They won't get caught off guard like they did last time, and I think they will cover. But it should be a good game.
Definitely. All right, guys, last one. We're going to do some we're going to throw a college ball game at you. How about Georgia at LSU, with Georgia heading to LSU as the 7.5-point favorites?
Go ahead, Taylor.
At LSU on a Saturday night, it's like the toughest test you can possibly face. I was pretty high on them coming into last week. They lost at Florida, which was pretty disappointing to see. Georgia's undefeated. Their best win came against South Carolina several weeks ago. Dominant win, 41-17. I do think Georgia's the best team in the country behind Alabama. There's a huge gap there because there's a huge gap between everyone in Alabama. But 7.5 points is a lot to be taking into LSU. So I think LSU has more than enough to pull that off. They definitely cover it, I think. I think they can win outright, so I'll take LSU to cover the spread.
After watching that LSU-Florida game, I can't pick LSU to cover a spread against a team that's better than Florida, a team that's better than LSU. Georgia, like you said, is the second-best team in the country. But they can play against Alabama well. They matched up well last year in the championship. They're going to match up well again if they play them in the championship or the playoffs. Either or. The thing though is Georgia has so much talent on both sides of the ball. LSU could not block or pass protect against Florida. I don't see how they're going to do it against Georgia. Georgia's offense is also much better than Florida. I don't see LSU stopping that for 4 quarters. I think I don't like that half point, but I think Georgia is going to cover by 9-10 points. I think Georgia wins this one and once again adds another point to their resume there that they're the second best team.
Very cool. Guys, that's it. That's all I got for Spread and Butter this week. Thanks for your insights. We're just going to jump right into our next section. I think we're gonna go into Gimme Props. All right, you guys, welcome to the Gimme Props section of Odds On Favorites. We got a couple props here, some from blog posts that Rick and Taylor have written on gamblingsites.org, some other props that are just available on BetOnline or wherever else that we're pulling these odds from. So we're just going to go through here and talk about a few different things here. Rick, I'm going to defer to you first. If I can pull this up, you did a blog post on who will be the next Green Lantern. There's some odds out on your post here from a couple days ago, so I'm sure these are probably still pretty close. Tom Cruise comes in at the favorite at -130. We have Common plus 200, Bradley Cooper at plus 300. I think that would be sweet. I like Bradley Cooper. Joel McHale plus 400. Idris Elba coming in at plus 500. I've seen him on a lot of different odds, always like somewhere around the middle for a bunch of different superhero movies coming out recently. Then you have a couple different ones over here. You have The Field at plus 350. You got Jake Gyllenhaal as a long shot at plus 2,000. Give me your thoughts here, man.
First of all, Jake would be terrible. Okay, so the Green Lantern movie is not even supposed to come out to, 2020?
Something like that. Yeah, it's not for a while.
They're just starting to get the script going and stuff. So from the early details released, they're looking at having both Hal Jordan and John Stewart, which means 2 of the most popular Green Lanterns in comic books or TV or movies or whatever are going to be in this film together. So with that said, this betting prop is kind of a little more unique because you're not just looking at one Green Lantern character, you're looking at two. And I kind of touched on this in the article is, so for example, let's just throw Tom Cruise out there, who I think has no chance at being Green Lantern. First of all, nobody wants a midget as a superhero. Unless it's Howard the Duck. Okay, so second of all, Tom Cruise, or excuse me, Little People. Let me be almost DC. So Tom Cruise obviously wouldn't be cast as Jon Stewart because for most people who follow Green Lantern in the DC universe, Jon Stewart is African American. So Tom Cruise obviously would not play a great African American superhero. But he could be cast as Hal Jordan, who was the most popular Green Lantern of the comic book era and stuff, 60s, 70s, into the 80s and stuff like that. So with that said, we'll start with Hal Jordan first. I touched on this for both. The field is obviously the smart bet here because there is a lot of options and possibilities for who they can decide to pick for a superhero, for an actor in any film. Okay, so to limit it just to these guys, first of all, I don't know how they even came up with some of these guys because I didn't even see them linked. One person that I did see, and this is why I also go back to the field, starting with Hal Jordan, is Angel, Buffy, Agent Seeley Booth from Bones, David Boreanaz. Someone flat out asked him if he wanted to play the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, in the new Green Lantern movie. And after they asked him at a recent Comic-Con, media outlets started picking up and like, hey, he actually could pull this off. He has the acting chops to pull this off. So he would be someone in the field that's a good example of why you should seriously consider taking the field for this bet. But I did pick Bradley Cooper also for Hal Jordan because, first of all, I think Bradley Cooper is an amazing actor. I think he's basically conquered every type of major acting genre that there is. He's just got his movie out right now. What is it? American whatever, musician superstar or whatever that is. With Lady Gaga now. Mm-hmm. People are going gaga over that movie, saying it's such a great film already and stuff. He's a fantastic actor. If they could get him to sign on for this, like the only thing he hasn't done is been a superhero. He's been an action hero. He played Face in the A-Team, okay? One of the greatest characters in action TV series history is Face. He pulled it off without a hitch, no problem at all. If he can be Hal Jordan, they will seriously get a big name for this. Now for Jon Stewart, I also think the field is a good bet for that as well. However, as much as I like Common, and I think he was amazing in the TV show Hell on Wheels, and I used to listen to his records back in the day, tape cassettes and CDs back in the day. Idris Elba. We talked about him for Superman. Mm-hmm. Superman, by the way. So he's a fantastic actor. He's one of my favorite actors out there. If they could get Elba and Cooper to sign on for this movie, it would be fantastic. It would be awesome. Smart money is the field, but if you had to pick one of each, take Cooper and Elba.
You ever watch The Office?
Yes.
The U.S. version? You know what was interesting to me is like thinking about the field would be John Krasinski. I think he's starting to get into more of those serious type roles. He has that Jack Ryan show on Hulu or Amazon Prime or one of those. Yeah. He's kind of grown to that role a little bit more. I could see him as a Green Lantern or getting into some type of superhero role too.
And the reason, before we send this over to Taylor, two things. One, Michael B. Jordan. We talked about him for Superman. He actually would be a fantastic actor for. And that's why I say pick the field, because he could be one of those actors that could come in and nail the Jon Stewart role for Green Lantern. The other thing is, if those who remember, the 2011 Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds was horrible. It was one of the worst comic films ever made.
I don't even want to talk about those, Rick.
It was terrible.
It was so bad.
It was horrible. And they're really trying to come up with a script that they say is going to do justice for Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps. So with that said, as long as we don't pull in an actor who's kind of like a Ryan Reynolds type, who might be able to do a little action, but is also a comedic or a comedian that does his comedy here and there, I think we'll be okay, because we don't need another goofy Green Lantern movie. We need something a little more serious. We need a Bradley Cooper. We need an Idris Elba. We need serious, talented actors, not Ryan Reynolds, who obviously does a better job at your favorite character, Deadpool.
Sorry, Deadpool fans. It's my least favorite superhero. He is just the most worthless character. Oh, man. I won't even get into it.
Joel McHale at plus 400. That's kind of your Ryan Reynolds of this group, isn't it?
Exactly. When I saw him, I was like, this is ridiculous. Why do we want to repeat a 2011 disaster? Like, it makes no sense.
I like Joel McHale, but yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It's like Ben Affleck as Batman.
Jake Gyllenhaal at plus 2,000. That reminds me kind of Tobey Maguire playing Spider-Man. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, man.
Pretty much. Whenever I hear his name, all I can think of is Brokeback Mountain. Nobody wants Brokeback Mountain as a Green Lantern. Okay?
Oh, no.
Armie Hammer was another one for Superman. He's kind of interesting, plus 650. That's a pretty good price for that guy.
Yep.
David Boreanaz, that's a good one. It's too bad he's not listed. I guess he would just take the field, though. Seems like easy money, kind of.
Take the field.
Yep. I think that's the smart bet here for this prop bet.
I'll nominate Taylor to be the next Green Lantern.
I will accept.
Oh, there. Boom, that's the field.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. That was fun. Let's get into some more football stuff here. How about the NFL MVP? Taylor, you did an article pitting Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes up against each other as who will win the best. I think because they had the two best odds. I think Mahomes, if this is still current, I know this was back in October.
I actually have updated odds here.
Oh, you do? Okay, perfect. What are the updated ones?
You get Mahomes at plus 333. He's the favorite. Drew Brees is now second at plus 350. Goff is plus 400. And then you go way down to Gurley plus 900 and Brady plus 1,000.
Oh, yeah. I forget. How can you not take Drew Brees now with breaking those records and stuff like that, reaching those milestones? I mean, that probably puts him really high up there. It's probably why he jumped up. I mean, he was already third on this other article. But
plus the Saints are actually winning now.
Yeah.
They've won every game. That debacle against the Buccaneers. So they look like they're the team they were supposed to be. Brees is putting up breezy numbers. Last I checked, he still hadn't thrown a pick. I don't know if he has thrown a pick by now. I don't think he has.
He didn't that last game either, so yeah.
11 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Breeze at plus 350 is interesting. I think my favorite, though, is Goff. People kind of thought he was just kind of a caretaker in that offense for Gurley. Gurley is still the meat of the offense, but we've seen Goff kind of make some huge steps forward over the last couple of years. MVP is a quarterback award for the most part. Unless a running back rushes for like 2,000 yards, usually they're not going to win it. I don't think Gurley has a realistic shot at that. I don't think anyone really does this season. So it will be a quarterback. It's just a matter of it'll probably be the quarterback of the best team. And right now it looks like the Rams and the Chiefs are right there with each other. I think the Rams, as I keep saying, will ultimately prove that they're better.
Do you think they're going to go 16-0?
No, but I still, 14-2, 13-3, something like that.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. And I just think Goff, as the leader of that team, is going to be the one rewarded. So plus 350 plus 400. I'd be all over that.
Goff, who, by the way, played at Cal Berkeley, Pac-12, California. Here we go. Goff looks fantastic this year. He is making throws. He's dropping dimes out there. It's incredible watching him play. And I alluded to this in the spread and butter section, but when they played the Seahawks and they had both Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks out, they brought in their fourth and fifth receiver, and he's still dropping dimes out there, still going right down the field. When the Seahawks are trying to take away Gurley because they've lost half the receiving core, he's still out there just chucking the ball down the field. Goff looks incredible. Like, Mahomes is getting all the attention right now, and rightfully so, because, he's come out of nowhere and he's been tearing it up, throwing all these touchdown passes and stuff. And the Chiefs also have a lot of weapons and stuff like that. However, Goff just did it this past week, and without two of his top three receivers, his deep threat, his over-the-middle guy in Cooper, and he looks incredible. I like that pick, Taylor. I do. I would say if there's going to be a running back that has a chance at winning this, the only person that I think could do that is if the Giants made the playoffs and Saquon Barkley was the reason why. Other than that, because the Chiefs and the Rams have two quarterbacks that are really prominent right now, their running backs are going to be overlooked, and those are the two other backs that really get a lot of touches, not only as first and second down ball carriers, but they're there on third down in the passing downs as well. So I can't go with Breeze. I think his running game is going to take away from him this year. So it's going to be Mahomes or Goff. It's a toss-up between those two right now. And you know what? Honestly, you can't count out old man Brady. They started off slow last year, and they almost ran the table, and he was MVP. And it's ironically this weekend, the former MVP is playing against potentially the next MVP when Brady takes on Mahomes. So I don't know. I can't rule out Brady, but I like Goff. I like that pick, Taylor. I'm going to have to go with you right now on that one.
Guys, I think last week we talked about the AL Rookie of the Year, right? Then this week we wanted to touch on the NL Rookie of the Year. Taylor, do you have updated MLB odds up to talk about the NL Rookie of the Year?
Last I checked, they hadn't changed.
Okay. Let's see. On your post here. Okay, so Ronald Acuna Jr. from the Braves, we have even. Juan Soto from the Nationals, plus 300. Harrison Bader, St. Louis Cardinals, plus 1,200. I can read through the rest of these, but anything that you wanted to add or some names you wanted to throw out here, Taylor?
No, I think those are the guys. It's going to come down to either Acuna or Soto. They pretty much had the same season. Acuna hit 293 with 26 homers, 16 stolen bases. Soto hit 292 with 22 homers, on base over 400. I think the Braves making the playoffs might ultimately push Acuna over the top. The Nationals were like the most disappointing team in the whole league this year. Acuna was also kind of the more flashy name. He was the top prospect, I think, in baseball, and Soto was more of he was still a huge prospect, but he didn't get as much pub. Voter familiarity with Acuna, I think, will carry him over the top. And even money, it's not bad. I don't hate taking a flyer on Soto at plus 300, but Acuna seems close to a lock, so I think I would just go with that.
Rick, anything to add?
Yeah, my only question is baseball over with yet? I mean, can we talk about
no, Rick?
Like NASCAR?
It's playoff time, baby.
That's right. It's NASCAR playoffs. Here we go.
God.
How about the NFL Rookie of the Year, guys? Taylor, I know you were going to write a blog post on this for us, but we don't have anything up yet. I'm looking at the odds, and Vegas loves Mayfield. They are loving Mayfield right now, minus 130, and then Barkley doesn't even comes in at second. He doesn't even get numbers up until 550. Then you have Sam Darnold at plus 600, Ridley at plus 950, Mitchell plus 1,200, Rosen and Allen at the same odds at plus 1,500. I mean, Mayfield's just way far ahead here at minus 130. Do you guys agree with that?
No, I mean, it makes sense just because it's the Browns. If he keeps winning games, then it's kind of hard to argue, but he's turned the ball over quite a bit. And, he's been fine. He's the bigger name. He's the number one pick and all that, Heisman winner. But Rookie of the Year is not like MVP. It's not an award that exclusively pretty much goes to QBs. Only one QB's won in the last 5 years. That was Dak Prescott. Baker minus 130. There's no value in that, and I think that's a little bit bloated for him. Barkley plus 550. He's already racked up 582 yards of offense from scrimmage. I I think he scored 5 touchdowns already, including 2 receiving. He is the Giants' offense right now. I know that's not really saying much, but he's kind of replaced – he's in the process, at least, of replacing Odell Beckham as the face of that franchise. As long as he stays healthy, it's hard to imagine him not putting up huge numbers this year. And winning games doesn't matter as much for Rookie of the Year as it does for MVP. So if Barkley emerges as like the first or second or third best running back in the league, it's kind of hard to argue against it. Plus 550, that's ridiculous. I think you should be all over that. None of the other long shots really stand out. Sony Michel, maybe, if he keeps, putting up numbers as the Patriots' number 1 back. But, Calvin Ridley's going to see a touchdown regression. Josh Rosen, Josh Allen. I don't think either of them can really keep up. I know you guys may argue with that. Barkley plus 550 just seems like a really strong bet.
What about Allen sitting there at plus 1,500? He can jump over things.
He can jump over things. I don't know if that's a criteria for Rookie of the Year, but
if it was, he would win.
If he was in the Olympics, maybe he would be a good bet there.
For me, being a huge Penn State fan, I think this is pretty obvious who I'm going with. Saquon Barkley, I've been a fan of his for years now. He is a beast. He is a phenomenal athlete. He's a phenomenal running back. He can do it all. And the Giants are seeing that. They need to get him the ball more. They honestly need to get him more touches out of the backfield just as much as handing it off to him in the backfield. He is electric. He's a threat to score every time he touches the ball, and he really is the reason why the Giants have been competitive at all. He's the reason why they beat the Houston Texans a couple weeks ago. But I'm not going to mention that.
Talk about that.
So I digress. What drives me insane is this. Vegas has been all over Cleveland Browns since the preseason. You check the tape, we've talked about Cleveland Browns multiple times early in the NFL season because of Vegas talking about the potential success they're going to have this year. And now with Baker Mayfield playing, everybody's in an uproar over him being such a stud, such this, such that. He is not a great quarterback. He is a great athlete. I will give him that. He has the intangibles to become a great quarterback. Whether that happens or not, well, that will be the story to be told over his career. Right now, if you were taking one rookie to start your team, to build your team around, you're not taking Baker Mayfield over Saquon Barkley. It's just not happening. Barkley is your Rookie of the Year. And like I said previously, if the Giants somehow make the playoffs, win that division, whatever, it's going to be because of Barkley. And if that's the case, he's also in contention for the NFL MVP. Mayfield's not even going to sniff that race or sniff that award. Give me a break. I am all over. I am all in on Barkley. And those odds of plus 550, that's an early Christmas present.
So for the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, we are going against the odds-on favorite. So I think that
I don't think Baker's obviously has a chance just because he's Baker and it's the Browns and it's that bar of low expectations. He could benefit from that. But in terms of numbers, it's pretty clearly Barkley, I think. Baker has 3 fumbles and 3 picks already, too.
Barkley's going to flirt with close to 2,000 total yards from the line of scrimmage. Barkley can return punts and kicks as well. It's not even close if you sit down and actually think about it. They're just all in on this ridiculous Baker Mayfield hype. That's what's going on right now. They did the same thing with Darnold at the beginning of the season. They were all in on Darnold and his ridiculous hype, and he's going to be the Rookie of the Year and stuff. And look what he's been up and down, up and down. Same thing's going to happen with Mayfield, up and down, up and down. He's not going to win this week against the Chargers. Phillip Rivers is going to beat him in a. I know this hurts you, Taylor, and your Cleveland Browns, but the Chargers and Phillip Rivers will outduel Baker Mayfield. You know what? This is starting to upset me. That's what it's doing. This turned into a rant. I need to take a deep breath.
Maybe you can get in more to it in your rant section, Rick. That's going to do it for our prop section here. Let's see. We're going to go into risky bets before we let you do your rants, Rick. So stick around. We're going to jump into that right now. Guys, it is that time to talk about risky bets here at Odds On Favorites. Rick, I'm just going to go right to you. Tell me what I need to look out for this week in the world of betting.
Here we go. Michigan Wolverines at home versus the Wisconsin Badgers. Michigan's favored by now it's 7.5 points. It was 7 for most of the week. It's gone up a half point. The Wolverines have won 5 straight games. Yes, they have looked better since their opening season loss at Notre Dame. They have looked better on defense. They're starting to produce a little bit more on offense. So I can see why fans of Big Blue want to just go right out there and jump on the fact that they're at home and they could potentially win this game. However, it's a risk because Michigan has won 9-1 against the spread in their last 11 against Wisconsin. Additionally, Wisconsin's 4-2 straight up in their last 6 against Michigan and 4-1-1 in their last 6. 4-1-1 against the spread in their last 6 at Michigan. Therefore, it's a risky bet to take Michigan in the points. In my opinion, the safer play is to take Wisconsin and the plus 7.5 points because even though they lost at home to BYU, even though Wisconsin always lets us down once a year, I think they got their letdown out of the way. They still have such a talented running back in Taylor. They got a great defense. I think they have what it takes to beat Michigan, and the numbers say they have in recent years. So, risky bet, stay away from the Wolverines covering.
Taylor, what about you, man? What risks we got?
I know double-digit point spreads in the NFL are inherently risky. We've seen it bite us before already this season with the Bills. But I'm going back to the well. I'm taking my Texans to beat your Bills, and I think they can cover that 10-point spread. Houston's at home. I assume the roof will be closed. I'm not totally sure about that. Weather might be nice enough to keep it open, but regardless, I think Houston's found something here on offense the last few weeks. With Kiki QT coming in there, new slot receiver, rookie out of Texas Tech. He was Kiki QT. He was awesome 2 weeks ago against the Colts. He was scored a touchdown this past week against the Cowboys. Houston's not going to take Buffalo lightly the way Minnesota did. I'm not as sold on the Texans' running game, especially if Lamar Miller's out again. But I think Deshaun Watson has enough here to carry the team by himself. Buffalo on the road, I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold on Buffalo in general in any stadium. So
what do we have to do to prove you wrong, Taylor?
Well, if they win this week, I'll be wrong again. But
just you wait.
Yeah, I don't trust the Texans fully to cover a 10-point spread, but I'm gonna take a risk and say they will.
All right. Well, thank you guys for that. Thank you for evaluating some risks. For those of you watching, if you take these risks and you're wrong, as I say every week, Twitter handles are down below. Feel free to talk trash. Hopefully you'll enjoy our next segment more, which is going to be the easy money. We're going to tell you about some locks that we have for the week. So we're going to jump right into that right now. All right, you guys, it's that time to talk about the easy money. We just assessed some risks that you guys could take this week, but now Rick and Taylor are here to give you their locks for your betting needs this week. Rick, you gave your risky bet first, so Taylor, give me your easy money pick first.
Okay, we got the Jaguars on the road in Dallas to take on the Cowboys this week. The Jaguars are 3.5-point favorites. The Cowboys' offense is not good at all. Dak Prescott is afraid to throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field. He's facing what may be the best secondary in all of football this week. Jacksonville on the road is a risky bet itself. They got smacked by the Chiefs last week, but the Chiefs are quite a bit more talented than the Cowboys on offense. It's just going to be tough unless Ezekiel Elliott just dominates. I don't see how Dallas puts points on the board consistently. So I will take Jacksonville as easy money to cover 3.5 on the road.
Your Blake Bortles.
Going back to the Blake Bortles well, what could go wrong?
Rick, how about you, man? Where do we find the locks?
I just talked about a little bit ago how I'm a Penn State guy, and I'm going back with Penn State at home this weekend against Michigan State. Now, Penn State's favored by 13.5, and usually you would think 2 touchdowns is a lot against Michigan State. But Michigan State has been awful this year. They just lost by 10 to Northwestern. They have not looked great in any game this year. They're traveling to Happy Valley, my former hometown of State College, Pennsylvania, and they're going to take on an angry Penn State team who should have beat Ohio State 2 weeks ago and had to sit through the bye week angry because James Franklin called, and I might get off in a rant, but Franklin called the worst play I've ever seen Penn State call, 4th and 1, the same run play that didn't work 20 straight times beforehand. He goes right back to it at the end of the game, literally driving down for field goal range. All they needed is another first down, 7, 8 more yards after that. Franklin's an idiot. However, with that said, he had enough time to get over it. They went through their bye week. They're going to be an angry team. They're at home. They're 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 overall games, 13-3-1 against the spread in their last 17 home games, and 15-6 against the spread in their last 21 Big Ten games. I think they're going to blow out Michigan State this weekend. Penn State is averaging 40-plus points a game. They're 4-1 against the spread so far this year, except for their opening game where it seemed like they just decided it was more of a glorified practice than anything. Penn State's a juggernaut right now. They've replaced Saquon Barkley in terms of production, not in terms of threat. Trace McSorley, who I said at the beginning of the college football season is a legitimate Heisman candidate. He is still rolling along. He's this year's Baker Mayfield, only in my opinion. I like him more than Baker Mayfield. Easy money. Take Penn State at home to cover the spread. They'll win by probably close to 20, 21 points.
Perfect.
Don't let me down, James Franklin.
Rick, that's going to do it for Easy Money section. We're just going to jump right in and let you do your rants while you're still hot on it. Stay tuned for that. Here we go. All right, guys, if you're just watching the Easy Money segment, we're going to jump right into Rick's rants while he's still hot on a few things. He's got some stuff on his mind, so we're just going to let him jump into it. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock now.
Here we go. I like to give a shout out to my colleague Taylor here because you know what? Just listening to your risky bet of Houston covering the 10-point spread is just driving me crazy. That whole time I had to hold my breath. My blood was boiling. My blood pressure was rising. My heart rate was rising. I was sweating. I was like pounding my fists and stuff. Listen, Houston has no running game, first of all. Second of all, Buffalo has a shutdown corner in Tre'Davious White that will be on Hopkins all day. Second of all, Buffalo's defense has caused 8 turnovers in the last 3 weeks. They lead the league in sacks. They got the top 12 and top 10 pass and run defense in the league. They're only allowing like 16.6 points per game in the last 3 weeks, and that's including the 22-0 loss they had at Green Bay. This defense has found their legs. They found their groove. They're going to go down to Houston, who's been inconsistent all year, and they're going to go down there, and they're easily going to cover a 10-point spread. Like, this is getting ridiculous now. What are you talking about?
1 minute.
Ridiculous now, okay? Not only that, Houston's given up a lot of receptions and yards the last couple of weeks to running backs out of the backfield, and now they're going against Shady McCoy, who's made a living doing that, and you think Houston's going to stop him when they couldn't even stop Hines for the Colts and barely stop Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys? Get out of here with that. Buffalo's covering their spread, and you know what? There's even a chance they could win this game because Houston is not a good football team. Not at all, at least not right now. Moving on. James Franklin, I called you out. I'm still not happy with you, man. 2 weeks ago, you called the worst. Listen, it's okay that you go out there and you say to the public, yeah, that was my bad. But you know what? You just cost us a season and potentially the Big Ten championship and a college football playoff spot because of what? My bad. It was your bad. It was a terrible play call. It was a horrible play call. Like, everybody and their mom knew you were going to call that play. Ohio State had 5 guys in the backfield to cover the run before he can even get any kind of progress once he got the ball. Terrible, Franklin. Listen, if you let me down this week, you and I were going at it, dude. I'm coming back to college. We're throwing down, okay? Next, I got to go back to Jake Gyllenhaal listing as the Green Lantern. I mean, seriously, he's not even that great of an actor, first of all. Second of all, you can't look at him and not think gay cowboy, okay? We're not putting him as Green Lantern. It's not going to happen. He's not better than anybody else on that list. Get him out of there. And then here we go. Conor McGregor, dude, I briefly talked about you just earlier in the show. You let me down, boy. You let me down. You looked flat. You let me down. You let the millions of Irish fans down. You let us all down by that performance. Khabib, man, shout out to you, but hopping over the fence going out after somebody, that's a punk move, you know? It's not like someone threw a drink at you like Ron Artest in the Malice and Palace. And lastly, hold on, you can't cut me off yet.
No, you're done.
Who hasn't watched The Breakfast Club? Are you kidding me? Or Star Wars? Are you serious? This is what I'm working with here, folks. This is what I'm working with here.
Good rant, good rant. For those of you that are a little confused by that very last shout out, that was to me and Taylor directly. Before we started recording the show, it came out that I have not seen Star Wars yet, and Taylor has not seen The Breakfast Club yet. So you can feel free to throw some shade at us or throw some shade at Rick for his rants or want to talk to him more. All of our Twitter handles are below. Guys, we got one more segment left to do. Probably turn it into one of my favorites. We have the Show Me the Money line segment coming up, doing some straight-up picks. I think Taylor might still be in the lead, but me and Rick are inching closer and closer to that mark. So we're going to get right into that segment now. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, last segment of Odds On Favorites. Like I said, right in the segment before, easily becoming one of my favorites. You got me versus Rick versus Taylor, head-to-head, straight-up moneyline picks. We're just going to jump right into it and just give you our picks here. I think from last week, Taylor, do you have our numbers pulled up by any chance from what our records are so far?
I'm leading the way right now, 39-21 on the year. Cody, you're 37-23, and Rick, 36-24.
All right.
We coming for you.
Anything can happen.
11-4 last week, and now at 9-6.
We're coming for you like Michael Myers on Halloween.
Let's get into it, guys. We're going to pick the Thursday night game here. This is being recorded Thursday afternoon, so if this isn't up on YouTube in time, just need to get it here for the record. We have the Eagles going to New York. Eagles are favorites of a 1-point spread, minus 119 money line. Giants minus 101 money line. What are we thinking?
I'm going Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. At home, first the Giants, the dysfunctional Giants. Give me the Eagles on a short week.
It's actually
It's in New York.
New Jersey, yeah.
It don't matter where it's at.
At New York Giants, yeah, sorry.
Eagles are winning.
Doesn't matter where. The Eagles are going to win.
I don't feel good about it, but I guess I'll take the Eagles. I don't know. This is subject to change. I may change this later. But for the show, I'll say Philly.
I was going to say, I got you on the record taking Philly right now, though.
You
don't think you can change your record around later.
Just know that if the Giants win, I get half credit.
If only that's how betting worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Pick them both.
Whew, guys. I don't know. With the Jai gone, Eagles don't have much of a run game. Giants got Barkley. I'm going to take the Giants on this one just to be a little different, just to see if I can't mess up my record and let Rick get ahead of me. But I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to do it. I don't even care.
I like it.
We got the Cardinals going to Minnesota. We talked about that 10.5-point spread. The Cardinals are plus 35. Plus 375 underdogs, and the Vikings are minus 450 favorites.
First of all, how are the Cardinals have a smaller money line than the Bills?
I don't know. It gets me mad. It gets me so mad.
That's terrible. That's Taylor's fault right there. Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings aren't going to let that happen again. So Vikings.
No chance, Vikings. Not even going to be a competition. The Chargers and the Browns, the Chargers are going to Cleveland. This one's a little interesting. It's only a 1-point spread. The money line is the Chargers are favorites at minus 120, and the Browns are just at plus 100.
Yeah, I wrote my pick article on this, one of my NFL pick articles this week. This is going to be a tougher game, but I do like the fact that Rivers is having a fantastic year so far statistically. And on paper, on paper, the teams that are worse than them, they've beaten this year. They've beaten the Niners, the Raiders, and at the time, the Bills. They're going to play Cleveland, who on paper is worse than the Chargers. I believe the Chargers will go in there and they'll beat Cleveland. They'll give Mayfield a tough day because you know what? He's not Rookie of the Year. Saquon Barkley is. Chargers will win.
Yeah, I almost made this easy money because that's a pretty tiny spread. I get that they're on the road and they're the Chargers. They're not reliable at all, but I I think LA, I almost said San Diego, should win the game pretty easily.
Yeah. Part of me just wants to go with the Browns. I don't know.
You're either going to kill us this week or you're going to go down and
I know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm going to do it. My gut feeling is telling me to go with the Browns. I'm going to pull a Taylor here and take Taylor's Browns to beat the Chargers.
They're your Browns now. They're not mine.
Brown from him now.
Oh, yeah. Man. My Browns. I'm going to take my Browns this week. I'll take the title. Oh, man. All right. Chicago is heading to Miami. The Bears are the favorites, minus 205, and the Dolphins plus 175 dogs.
You know, the Bears are coming off a bye week. They look fantastic against Tampa. Miami is starting to do what we thought they were going to do and play a little bit more down to an average level there. You have to go with the Bears here. Their defense looks great, and Miami's offense should not be much of a threat for the monsters of the Midway. Da Bears.
I don't think we really anticipated how big a deal that Khalil Mack trade would be for Chicago right away. I remember talking about it at the time, saying, maybe in a year they can win that division, but they look legit. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. The Dolphins have come back to earth. I think the Bears are an easy pick again.
I'm with you guys on this one. I'm going to take the Bears also.
Not sure about that?
Not taking the Dolphins. How about the Panthers and the Redskins? Panthers are the Redskins are at home. They're favored at minus 120, and the Panthers are going into the dogs at plus 100.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that line yet. I did not expect Carolina to be an underdog.
Yeah.
Give me the Panthers. Greg Olsen comes back this week. He's supposed to play. Yeah, I know he's got some foot issues, but he says he's ready to go. He'll have surgery at the end of the year. He's going to play through the pain and stuff. Unless he breaks his foot on the field this weekend, Carolina is a better team with Olsen there on offense. That defense is good enough to stop anything that Washington has. Give me Carolina.
I'm always kind of wary of taking Cam Newton on the road. But we saw Alex Smith. We should add him to the list of quarterback busts. He looks terrible now that he's not with Andy Reid anymore. There you go. Superman. Yeah, Alex Smith looks bad. They looked horrible on Monday night. I know that was in New Orleans against a better team, but there's just nothing about the Redskins right now has me thinking they should win other than being at home. So I'll go with Carolina as well.
I'm going with Carolina's kicker here, Graham Gano. Specific shout out for throwing up 19 points on my fantasy league this past week. I'm going with the Panthers also. I mean, I have seen nothing that impresses me with the Redskins as of late. So yeah, Taylor, I'm with you on being a little wary of Newton on the road, but I think the Panthers are the better team here. Going in, it's a 1-point spread. It's going to be a close game. I mean, I know we're just picking straight up. I'm going with the Panthers here. Colts at New York Jets. Let's see. The Jets are favored, minus 131. The Colts are going to the dogs at plus 111.
I have a hard time picking the Jets in any game. And the fact that they destroyed Denver last week was actually shocking to me. They looked like a competitive team. However, the Colts at times look competitive against the Patriots, but we all knew on a short week the Colts weren't going to be able to match the Patriots. And intensity on a Thursday night game. But that gave them extra time to get a little healthier to prepare for the Jets. I think the Colts still have enough weapons, even if Jack Doyle doesn't play and even if T.Y. Hilton's banged up. I think they still have enough weapons to take it to the Jets. I don't trust that offense for the Jets, and I'm going to go with the Colts in this one. I can't bring myself to take the Jets. Can't do it. Won't do it.
This game looks like your dumpster fire of the week, I would say. T.Y. Hilton being out's a big deal, though. I just don't know if that's enough to get me to pick the Jets. I guess the Jets are at home. They should be confident. I don't know if they're going to run all over the Colts like they did the Broncos, but it was at least encouraging to see. Man, I don't know. This game sucks. I think I'll take the Colts. Whatever. I can't pick the Jets either.
All right. Go. I'm taking the Jets.
Oh, wow.
I'm taking the Jets, guys.
Again, I want to do that too. I just can't do it. Can't do it.
I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to crush you guys this week and just boost my record up here. Telling you what, calling it now.
You're taking the Bills too, so we'll see about that.
In time, it'll come.
Don't give it away.
Oh, guys, sorry, I lost my place here. Oh, the Steelers are heading to Cincinnati, going in as the dogs at plus 108. The Bengals are favored at minus 128.
I've been on the Bengals all season. I'm going to stick with the Bengals to keep rolling along. Pittsburgh did surprise me with how well they played at home last week versus the Falcons. Falcons look like a hot pile of garbage. Pittsburgh actually looked pretty good, but they're going on the road. They're playing a divisional opponent who's leading that division, the AFC North, and Cincinnati has the weapons on both sides of the ball, the playmakers, to make Pittsburgh really have to earn any kind of points this weekend. I'm going with the Bengals in this one at home.
Yeah, I think Ben Roethlisberger's home road splits are real for some reason. He's just not the same guy on the road. Cincinnati looks legit on defense. 4-1 leading that division. I think this is a great chance for them to kind of step on the throats of the Steelers a little bit. And I think they'll be ready. So I'll go with the Bengals as well. Taking the Steelers, aren't you?
Well, Big Ben has been connecting with Brown more. Been seeing a little bit more consistency out of Ben. He was not looking too good earlier on in the year. It's not enough to sell me to take the Steelers this week, though. There's no Bell. I don't think that they're going to be consistent enough on offense to go into Cincinnati and take this game. Andy Dalton has been looking legit as of late. I like the Bengals here. I think they're the better team in this game, so I'm going to take the Bengals also. I agree with you guys on this one. Made some good points.
The Steelers are going to win. We're going to look like idiots.
We're all going to look stupid. Where am I at here? The Bucks. Rick, the Bucks, man, this is all you, are going to Atlanta as the underdogs, plus 135, Falcons favorites, minus 155.
This is probably going to be the highest scoring game of the week. They both have weak secondaries. They give up a lot of passing yards. Tampa's the worst in the league. Atlanta's right up there now. I just need Atlanta to win this one, and the Cardinals and the Niners each to win one more game, and we are looking good with the Bucks being the worst team in the NFL. That said, I'm still taking the Falcons here. I think, Ryan and Jones, and now Devontae Freeman has another game back. I think that running game will get going. I think Tampa's defense is weak enough for Atlanta to put up some points, to get that good mojo going again, going with the Falcons. And I don't like Winston at all, so give me the Falcons.
Falcons are 1-4, but they've had a really tough schedule. They played at Philly in the opener, against Carolina, New Orleans, Cincinnati, and then Pittsburgh. This is their easiest game by a mile that they've had. They'll be at home. They're desperate to not go 1-5 in the first 6 games. This looks like one of the easier bets on the week. So, yeah, I'd say Atlanta as well.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you guys this year, especially just how bad the Bucs have looked for even their past 3 games. I mean, they got destroyed by the Bears. They just barely lost to the Steelers, and then they actually held their own a little bit against the Eagles, but still the I'm not sold on the Bucs at all. I'm not sold on Jameis Winston coming in. I did ride the Fitzmagic train for a little bit, but obviously that stopped. Came to a hard stop.
Fell off the tracks.
Fell off the tracks, rolled over. Oh man, it was bad. But yeah, I'm not sold on Jameis Winston to take over. I'm definitely not sold on them coming into Atlanta to take on Matt Ryan. So give me the Falcons here. Excuse me. The London game, the Seahawks and the Raiders. The Seahawks, as we talked earlier, are going in the favorites. The money line is -136, and the Raiders +116.
Seattle.
Yep, we talked about it earlier. Got the Seahawks.
Yeah, and from just talking about it earlier, I agree with you guys. I'm taking Seattle also. My favorite. All right, Bills and the Texans. Here we go. The Bills are heading to Houston as +375 underdogs with Texans -450. And again, we have this 10. Oh, well, I think what we talked about earlier, did I say there was a 10.5 point spread? On BetOnline right now, it's just a 10-point spread.
Yeah, that line's been fluctuating a little bit. Same with the money lines. However, with that said, Buffalo is going to win. Going with the Bills.
Buffalo's not going to win, so I'm going with the Texans.
Taylor's wrong. Bills are going to win. Bills are going to cover the spread. Bills are going to win straight up. Just Bills. Go Bills.
Every week. We drink this Kool-Aid every week.
But was I right? Were we right last week?
Yeah. You got your 1-point win over the Tennessee
Wins a win, baby. Wins a win.
And they're leading your Houston's Texan division. And they beat the Texans, if I remember correctly.
Indeed.
Guys, I don't think we have to talk about this one. Rams and Broncos. Rams are obviously favorites, -290. Broncos +245 dogs. We're heading to Denver. I know we talked about it earlier in the show, but I think we're all in agreements with Rams.
Rams.
Yep.
All right. Then let's see. We got the Jaguars and the Cowboys. Jags are heading to Dallas. Taylor, I know you touched on this. The money line is -168 for the Jags and +148 for the Cowboys.
Yeah, Taylor was right with easy money here. I think Jacksonville will bounce back. Dallas does not have the offense that Kansas City has. Jacksonville's defense got punched in the mouth by Kansas City's offense. Jacksonville's offense didn't even show up last week. Now they go and play against a Dallas team that they are better than. They should win this game handedly. I'd say by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, this should be a low-scoring game, too. I think both defenses are pretty decent. But, yeah, Jacksonville.
Yeah, Dallas doesn't even – the offense doesn't even compare to the Chiefs' offense. So, I mean, I don't think they're even going to come close to touching the Jags' defense. So, yeah, I'm taking the Jags here also. We got the Ravens and the Titans. The Ravens are heading to Tennessee as the favorites. They're on the road favorites at -145, and the Titans are +125.
You know, in my opinion, this is the toughest game of the week to call. I think both teams feature good defenses, inconsistent offenses. Baltimore just looked flat at Cleveland last week, and Tennessee looked flat at Buffalo last week. So now they can play against each other to see which one is more mentally tough to bounce back and get back on track. With that said, I've been more impressed with what Baltimore has done this year than I have with Tennessee. Titans have seemed to grind out every game and win by a few points here. Baltimore has blown out a few teams here and there, like Denver. We won't mention anybody else after that. And, you know, they beat Pittsburgh and stuff. So I'm going with the Ravens in this one. It's going to be a tough game. I like these types of physical games. But give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm not a buyer on Tennessee at all. I think they're lucky to be 3-2. Overtime win against the Eagles, really close win against the Texans. Like you said, I think Baltimore's more proven. I think they have more talent, especially on defense. So I like them on the road as well.
Yeah, you guys make some good points. Part of me wants to go with the Titans, but I just don't see it. I think the Ravens are going to come in and take this one. I agree with you guys. Not gonna disagree with you on this one. Guys, how about the Chiefs heading to New England. Coming in, the Chiefs are the dogs at plus 155. Pats are favorites, minus 175.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think the Chiefs will cover the spread, but the Patriots will win the game. So I'm going with New England at home. They've just been phenomenal at Gillette Stadium over the last decade. So going with New England.
I picked Kansas City to lose last week for the first time. I will go back to the well and pick them to lose for the first time this week. So I'm going with New England as well.
I think you picked them to lose 3 straight weeks now. You picked them to lose Denver and Jacksonville.
Damn right.
You hate the Chiefs.
They got to come back third at some point. And
I agree.
It might as well be now.
I agree.
You guys know my philosophy.
Don't bet against Tom Brady.
Don't bet against Tom Brady.
Unless he's playing the Giants in the Super Bowl.
I think it's gonna be tight. I really think the Chiefs have a good, solid chance. Rick, I think I'm pretty much right with you. The Chiefs will cover the spread, but the Patriots will win the game. So taking the Pats. Guys, last one, Monday Night Prime Time, and it's a
dud.
It's a dud. The 49ers and the Packers. 49ers are heading to Lambeau Field, plus 340, and the Packers home favorites minus 410.
I think we should set an over-under of how many Lambeau leaps there's going to be in this game. It's going to be a blowout. The Niners do play pretty decent defense at times. I'm a fan of C.J. Beathard. I liked him in college. I think he's got the grit to be a good backup quarterback. Unfortunately, being thrusted into the starting position is not something that I see him succeeding at. They don't have a great running game without Matt Breida, who's got an ankle injury. He might not even play this weekend or this Monday night. There's nothing here unless Aaron Rodgers breaks his leg in this game and can't play on a broken leg. Green Bay's going to win. There's no chance for the Niners.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. Got nothing to say against that. Green Bay all the way.
It's going to be an ugly game.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball playoffs will be on the TV instead.
Well, you think about it, they won 22-0 against Buffalo. It's going to be worse than that against the Niners.
Yeah.
We could be seeing 30-something to 7 in this game if the Niners score. I mean, you never know.
Guys, that's it. I mean, BetOnline has odds for the Monday night game versus the Chiefs and the Rams, but that's not till November 19th, so that will come in due time.
That's going to be a big one.
Uh-huh. So, guys, that does it for Odds on Favorites this week. If you stuck around for the whole thing, thank you so much. You can always check us out here on YouTube, iTunes. We got the audio podcast running for you. And as always, we try to do these shows weekly for you. Leave some comments. Let us know what you guys think. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want to talk about. More than happy to take some requests, things like that. But other than that, guys, just thank you so much for watching. Rick, Taylor, thanks so much for helping me do this. We'll catch you guys next week.